If you like the video, then please consider supporting Slopes Game Room on Patreon. Half-Life 2. No matter what type of gamer you are, you owe it to yourself to play this game. An absolute outstanding video game that is always making its way right to the top of every single top 10 video game list. Yep, just like Ocarina of Time, your Sonic 2s, your Skyrims, your Resident Evil 4s, your Final Fantasy 7s, your Street Fighter 2s, your Symphony of the Nights, Half-Life 2, just ain't budging. But what if I told you that this guy, a young game-addicted, Valve-loving hacker from Europe, almost completely destroyed it? Well, he did. It's quite common knowledge, especially in gaming, that this legendary game got leaked before it came out. But do you know the whole story? Well, I'm telling it to you anyway. This is the story of the great Half-Life 2 Robbery. Welcome to Slopes Game Room. Welcome to the humble little town of Skona in Schwarzwald, Germany, home of Axel Gembe, a young gamer that wasn't that bothered about paying for his games. And although he would probably go on to be one of the most famous video game related hackers ever, he actually started his hacking life when he got attacked himself. It was this bloody solid game that did it, or to be more precise, a piece of software that claimed to be a keygen for the game. However, sadly for Axel, the keygen turned out to be an SD bot in disguise, which, in case you didn't know, was a very popular at the time worm that attacks your PC, giving the remote user, aka someone else, full access to your computer. Don't copy that floppy, am I right? Well, instead of removing the virus, he decided to reverse engineer it to try and find out how it worked, which he did. In fact, he did it so well that he managed to trace it back to the IRC server from where the virus was being controlled. When he was here, he was able to confront the hacker that hacked his machine, but instead of fighting back, he instead asked several questions to find out in fine detail how it worked. This would eventually lead to the creation of Axel's very own popular malware that was used for the sole purpose to pirate video games. If any of you are watching this pirated a lot of games for the PC during the years of 2002 to 2003, it's very much likely that you used Axel's software to do so. But why am I saying that? You guys wouldn't do such a thing, am I right? Yeah, I think it's best we move on. Whilst Axel and his little hacker crew was pirating every game under the sun, the rest of the PC world was getting constantly teased about an upcoming Half-Life 2. That original Half-Life game was, and still is, one of the most popular games in PC gaming, period. An absolute masterful piece of work that whet the appetite of all who played it. And with Half-Life 2's development getting longer and longer, Axel, just like the rest of the world, was desperate to find out more. But unlike everyone else that was waiting for Gabe to tell them that the game was still quite a way off from its release date, Axel decided to see if he could get a sneak peek by gaining access to Valve's servers. The long and short of it is, he got in. It turns out that back in 2002, Valve servers were not exactly the Iron Fortress that they are nowadays, or so I assume. And by all accounts, it looks like the whole thing was quite easy to do if you knew what you was doing. When he was in, he quickly gained access to all of the passwords he needed and founded a nice little host where he could hide out and continue searching. Weeks went on and Valve was none the wiser that this young German hacker was sitting in their very own server, snooping around and looking at random documents and images for the game. And then he found it. The source code for the game thus far. So, without any hesitation and no doubt more excited than that N64 kid, he hit the download button. Crazily enough, Valve was still none the wiser. What Axel had just downloaded was an early version of a game that he couldn't play, and although certain aspects of this early build were accessible, others were not. This was when he went for his friend for help, with the only clause being that this was not to get out. But, you know, obviously it did. Axel still admits to this very day that he was not the person that uploaded the unfinished game, but alas, however it happened, when it hit torrent sites there was no stopping it. Poor old Gabe, the game that he'd just spent the best part of 5 years creating and costing on average $1 million a month to make, had been leaked, and although the game was still a fair way off from release, this was a massive blow to the company, which, by the way, still hadn't released the risky new business model known as Steam. Gabe's initial reaction was to call the police, but then he had a better idea. He went to the fans. On the 2nd of October 2003, it was on the official Half-Life forums that Gabe posted this.
Ever had one of those weeks? This has just not been the best couple of days for me or for Valve. Yes, the source code that has been posted is the HL2 source code. Here is what we know. Starting around 9/11 of this year, someone other than me was accessing my email account. Shortly afterwards, my machine started acting weird. For the next week, there appears to have been suspicious activity on my webmail account. Around 9/19, someone made a copy of the HL2 source tree. At some point, keystroke recorders got installed on several machines at Valve. Well, this sucks. What I'd appreciate is the assistance of the community in tracking this down. If you have information about the denial of service attacks or the infiltration of our network, please send the details. We at Valve have always thought of ourselves as being part of a community, and I can't imagine a better group of people to help us take care of these problems than this community. Gabe.
Sadly, Gabe didn't get much of a response. Even the FBI got involved and didn't discover much either. On top of this, the game was delayed by yet another 12 months, and the development team became incredibly deflated. It looked as if the whole thing was possibly going to destroy the company. But then on the 15th of February 2004, 18 minutes past 6 in the morning, Gabe got an email from the guy. It was Axel. Yep, 5 months after doing what he did, he emailed Gabe directly, and he went on to explain that the whole thing just got out of hand and he never wanted it to get out. However, that wasn't it. He used this opportunity to ask for a job at the company. Yeah, well, surprisingly enough, Gabe accepted. Axel ended up having a phone interview with a couple of members of the Valve family before impressing the company so much that they offered him a second interview at the company's headquarters in Seattle. Little did Axel know, but this wasn't the offer of the dream job that he had hoped for. But instead it was a way to get him onto US soil where he would pay for his actions under American law. So with this all looking like it was gonna go ahead, Axel went to bed, no doubt very excited about his new potential job opportunities, and this is what he saw when he woke up. Yeah, okay, this looks bad, but it could have been a lot worse if Axel and his family went to the States. The German police saved this guy's arse, although during questioning they thought the whole thing was due to a virus called the Sassa worm, which was a worm that, although he didn't create, did in fact use a lot of the same traits that he's used in the past. Oh, and by the way, Sven Jaskin, who actually did design that virus, also got arrested on the same day. Attention quickly turned to Half-Life 2, and Axel told them everything. As time went on, Axel awaited his trial and decided to turn his life around, finishing up an apprenticeship and eventually getting a job writing security applications of all things. When the time did eventually come, the judge obviously felt he had done enough and only gave the young lad 2 years probation. Thankfully, this game may have also helped him a little, as Axel's actions hadn't damaged sales at all. And let's be honest, I'm pretty sure that every single one of you guys watching this with a Steam account probably has the game. Half-Life 2 went on to be a huge success when it came out, and it still is. If you want to look into the story more, I do suggest you check out the awesome Eurogamer article in the description. And just like that awesome article, I will leave you with the same closing statement. What would Axel say to Gabe today?
I would say this: I am so very sorry for what I did to you. I never intended to cause you harm. If I could undo it, I would. It still makes me sad thinking about it. I would have loved to just stay and watch you do your thing, but in the end, I screwed it up. You are my favorite developer, and I will always buy your games.
Hey there guys, it's the part of the video where I give my usual shoutouts to all of my Patreons, but first, I want to give a big shout out to my collaborators. So if you haven't checked out Nostalgia Nerd or Wrestling with Gaming, then do check the links in the description to go and check out their channels. They're very, very good. But back to Patreon with a special shout out going to Ryan Burford, Joe Lazares, Ian A. Chapman, Phil Lowlins, Yoshi Vu, Retro to Next Gen, Zane Powers, Gavin Garflife, Free Confirmed, Creamy Elephant, JL87, Casey Garner, Blitz, Hedgie Ben Hall, Taylor Almond, Todd, Paul Float G, Stu Noonam, Petite Mew, Boo White, Brian Rawson, Leo and Sills, Killer J Takikawa, and of course, Tiago Piera dos Santos Silva. If you want to be part of this list, get your name shouted out, get your name shown, come and see what I'm working on, be part of the Discord chat, and all of those other great Patreon exclusive things, then please click the link that you see on the screen. Don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever you prefer. And, as usual, all you guys out there that are sharing my videos on social media websites, Reddit and anything like that, a massive thanks to you guys. You really are helping grow the channel. But anyway, that's it from me. This is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.